successful people who got crappy grades in high school or college. What are you doing now and how did, or didn't, your grades affect your success career? I got really bad grades in both. When I was in my early 30s, I had a big chip on my shoulder about it and started taking college classes at large, one at a time. The motivation I had to do well in them was incredible. After a while of that, I was able to take my new transcripts and use them to get into grad school. No one cared that I had gotten poor grades 10 years earlier. The Asian Way, family business. Fail at Asian Way Plan A and start Asian Way Plan B. Teach college and give other people bad grades. It's the circle of mediocrity. As far as the grades go, nobody looked at them after I graduated. I am currently a scientist and enjoy doing research. I come from a country where emphasis is on memorizing rather than learning and applying the said knowledge. I failed a lot during school. Luckily, when it was time to look for universities, sister campus of a well-known university opened where I lived. Their entry requirements were not that bad. I got in and my grades improved massively as I could apply what I learned. Moved countries to do a master's and a PhD, and here I am now. I still curse my original country's style of education. My husband and I are opposites. We're both intelligent, but I was very motivated to get good grades at school etc, whereas he was not. We met at university where I once again outperformed him when we graduated. I initially got the better paid, better jobs and was the main earner. Then, he got employed at a world-renowned company in an entry-level job but in a sector he was passionate about. It also turned out, when motivated and interested in the subject matter, he has a genuine talent for innovation. Within 8 years, he worked his way up from a bottom-rung grunt on a temp contract to an associate director, who, when he got headhunted by another company, was given a 40% pay rise as a counteroffer to keep him. Because it was acknowledged how valuable to his company he is. He has the most motivated team in his section of the company. I, on the other hand, lost motivation, got trapped in a role that has de-skilled me, and when I applied for a role, was told my degree is no longer relevant because it's over 10 years old. So, in summary, grades are BS and it's more important to find something you enjoy and are good at, in my opinion. Astronomer here. I was never a good student because I couldn't for the life of me take tests well. I could study hard but somehow never be able to answer things in the exams. Either total blank or totally misread the question type stuff. So I mainly got B's and C's. Just over a 3.0 in high school, and a 3.2 in college, but even failed the occasional exam in high school and college. It was pretty demoralizing, especially when the advice in high school was just that I must be lazy, even when I worked hard to study, as there seemed to be no difference if I did or didn't. By college I realized I just don't test well, so I had to make up for it by turning in really good homework for the chance of a B or a C as my final grade. So I worked hard on those problem sets. I also got to know my profs in office hours and ask questions. And helping with those homeworks aside, that definitely helped me sometimes when I was on the cusp between 2-letter grades. Profs usually bump up students they know worked hard in their class, as they are people. One of those profs offered me a summer job in his lab, so I got a ton of research experience in as well. Ultimately, when applying for grad school, I got into one program for my astronomy PhD. It turns out taking exams really has no bearing on your capacity to do research, and instead the grit to work extra hard on homework and in the lab was way more useful. So I completed my PhD and did kick-ass research. So just started my postdoc in astronomy a few weeks ago at Harvard. It's so surreal to me as I never thought I was good enough for a position like mine. So in conclusion, I always make it clear to people that you don't have to be a straight A student to make it in STEM. Doing that would have definitely helped, but wasn't going to happen for me. And ultimately, if you're passionate about your topic enough to work extra hard at it, you can also succeed. Don't count yourself out too quick. I really liked reading this. I'm a high school senior right now and my lower years I tanked, and though I'm picking myself up this year, I still struggle with exams. I also want to be an astronomer when I'm older, so this definitely raises my confidence since I've had lots of anxiety about what I can do in the future. Thanks for sharing. Went to for-profit college that didn't care about grades but also was world-renowned and had an incredible curriculum. Graduated college with a 2.7 GPA. Got my first job at a recording studio because I went to this school. Got a job at a radio station because even though my grades weren't great I know my stuff, and even walked out of college with a few certs. Now, I run my own recording studio and have several other side hustles. Turns out I'm not dumb, just have a problem with authority. I had some serious depression in college that tanked my grades. I managed to end up with a 3.0 GPA, but I failed several courses. In my major, I pretty much had A's or F's. I did well enough and interviewed well enough that I got a job. It has mostly affected me in that I'm worried I won't get into a good graduate school program because of my crappy grades in my major. I haven't applied, but I know I would do well now that my mental health is in order and I know my grades don't show that. I got C's in high school and failed out of college twice. I then joined the Marine Corps, got out and used my GI Bill to get my bachelor's and master's degree successfully. I now work in a major corporation doing data analytics and logistics work and make a pretty great salary with tons of potential to make a lot more since my company only promotes from within at the levels I'm at. I'm also in the process of starting my side business that will hopefully go full-time in the next few years with some of my savings from my career. My family lives a very comfortable lifestyle with nice cars and a nice house. Although I did fail out of college twice, I did wind up getting 2 degrees. I just want people to know, since a lot of former Marines always tell me this, even if you aren't book smart or a school person, go get your dang degree, especially if you have the GI Bill. I hated every second of school, like despised it, but stuck through it. Even if you don't have the GI Bill, student debt isn't as bad as Reddit makes it out. I had some from when I failed out of school twice. My wife has her master's degree and it more than pays for her student loans. We both worked full-time and got our degrees at the same time, with kids. Community colleges are cheap, and state schools aren't bad either. Just work hard, put in more effort than those around you, and most of the time you'll succeed. I was a very average student through high school, and even more average during university, even repeating a bunch of units as I struggled through. But I got there, and graduated with a degree in chemistry. Been a good ride since. Successful in instrumental analysis AMD managing laboratories, and now earning well over 6 figures internationally in the oil and gas industry. My grades never mattered. The piece of paper merely served as a key to many doors. I'm an IT, but I think my situation applies in most, not all, fields. As time passes the focus gradually switches to your experience. After 5-10 years your experience, track record, and fit within the org will become the key. No one will care about what grade you got in calculus. After 26 years in my field my resume has one half line that acknowledges I graduated from XXX in 19XX with a degree in ZZZ. I barely made it through high school. I failed biology and physics. I have degrees in biology and physics now. 6-figure salary. I stopped freaking off, playing video games all day, smoking pot, and chasing women. I dropped school once I finished high school. Studying wasn't for me, and spent most of my free time playing video games online. The idea was to become a pro player. I never got even close to a pro, but my English is pretty good. Thanks to that I have a very good job on the naval busines, where I also spend my free time playing games. I didn't flunk anything except my cooking class I took in high school, but I also didn't do well enough to qualify for any kind of scholarships for college or anything. Here's my personal experience as a result of that. Personally, I always felt like I was above average intelligence, and I think a lot of my peers did too. Like I would still help people learn the material if they were struggling. So I don't think my confidence took a hit like it would most C-average students. I also think I got really lucky being born when I did, because the nearer I got to a professional life, the less important college started becoming. Some major companies no longer require college degrees, and while I don't work for any of them, The reality is that lesser companies take notice, and I started seeing a lot more available jobs that said something to the effect of college degree preferred, but not required, or college degree or equivalent experience. So that helped me go from restaurant management, where they'll let any buffoon who finished high school have a crack at it, into hospitality at a major convention hotel. Still, as I worked my way up the ranks there, it got tough to compete with college kids that my company was literally recruiting, hiring in at external higher pay rates. Not that they shouldn't have done that, but it's my reason I don't think those rates were intended for 22-year-olds, and giving positions where it really was gonna take the kid 1-2 years to get enough experience to be able to actually, in my opinion, deserve and perform the position. Fast forward a couple years, and I now am part owner and operator of a small real estate company. I think I've just not naturally conformed to the way most other people do things, so this feels like a perfect fit for me. Running the business, I can do things the way I want to do them, and more importantly, the way I think they should be done. I'm doing things fair for our agents, for our customers, and for myself and my business partner. I can encourage and foster things I've seen companies I've worked for discourage. Having a sense of humor in the workplace, clear and honest communication, maintaining a work-life balance, etc. So yeah, mostly C's in high school, turning to mostly G's in my bank account. I'll see myself out. Not too crappy but good enough to enter foundation of a medical school. Some of the peers scored 9s plus in the national high school exam and I am the lowest A scorer among all 3 as. Never failed any university year exams but didn't score too well either. Just enough to pass the exam. Currently waiting for government notice to work as an intern doctor. IMO grades are important but the path that you're going to take, aka your dream, is even more important as it is the foundation where your future holds. I'm a factory worker that owns property and is working on getting a farm going. Considering I don't have any loans out yet, I'd say I'm doing well. Lol, I live with my grandma since I need to get going on phase 2 of my plan, and she's letting me chill until I get my house built in 2021. Everything I own has been obtained through hard work, but none of it can be taken away since it's 100% mine. That's awesome. I wish you much luck. I know how much hard work goes into farming but also must be very satisfying. I hated school so I never properly applied myself to it. Started working as a gardener within a week of graduating at 16 and have been a gardener ever since. The main qualities that have helped me in my career is my attention to detail and work ethic. I'm self-employed, work with my dad now, but it's not unusual for us to work 12+ hour days but we reap the rewards. Most of our work is contracted and is either luxury housing, hotels or public sites like galleries and museums etc, which we get headhunted for. We even worked and were credited on a gold winner at the Chelsea Flower Show a few years back. Business has been steady for the past 8 years but we've finally got our big break this year and have tripled our company's yearly income. All in all, I think grades have very little to do with success in the trade field. It's more about quality and work ethic. I got all C's in high school. I work in imports from Asia, chemicals and the kind of crap you find at Pier 1. By the way, you're paying about 4x what I do for the same crap. I dropped out of college because it was BS and costing me money. I worked 100 hours a week at 3 jobs until I saved about $15k and bought some Chinese crap and resold it for twice what I paid. Rinse and repeat. I am a software engineer for 9 years now. Hate the job but it is a lot of money. I had bad grades in both but I do know that if I had better grades I would have ended with even a better career. My husband had a bad time at school, illness, and left as soon as he was able. He went to university at 26 and is now a very successful programmer. I hold a bachelor's in marine science, with a concentration in wildlife biology. I had a job in my field over the summer and now I am working towards independent research work. High school, my grades were crap. I almost got held back a few times. Had to jump through all sorts of IEP hoops in order to graduate at all. Teachers were often instructed to outright waive certain assignments of mine due to my IEP. I spent more time in the nurse's office or counselor's office than actually in class. Never got involved in any clubs or extracurriculars because I just didn't have the energy, nor did I give enough of a crap about the school to get involved in anything. I hated the place and everyone in it with a burning passion. I graduated with a low average GPA and went straight to community college, which was required to accept all high school graduates in the county regardless of grades or GPA. I blossomed in community college and ended up in the School Honor Society, and got involved in tons of extracurricular and volunteer work. The college environment was nothing like high school and so was actually a suitable learning environment for me. I graduated with honors and ended up insta-admitted to my local state university based on academic performance. Cumulative 3.6 GPA at graduation. The university offered me instant admission into their grad program and I have until June 2020 to accept the offer or decline it. I don't know if my handicaps will allow me to handle a grad school schedule or workload. I had to have a lot of extra assistance just to get through uni, but I made it. I like to brag that I made it through a bachelor's degree without ever taking the SAT or ACTS. You know, for teachers, students, parents who like to pretend you have no future if you fail your SAT. I did great through high school, got into an Ivy League college, did very poorly due to ongoing depression and treated ADHD, graduated in 5 years by the skin of my teeth, switched majors a bunch of times till I landed at environmental science, spent 3 years searching for anything related to my field while working my way up to assistant manager at my local Starbucks, got hired by an environmental consulting firm who was interested in the management experience I had and just cared that I'd graduated, not what my grades were. Did well there for 3 years, got promoted, moved out of state to a different company, did well there but didn't enjoy it. Now I'm an assistant project manager at a major environmental consulting firm and love my job. Moral of the story: do well no matter what your job is. You never know what might be useful later. Got mostly B's and C's in high school, almost actually failed my senior year at one point. Dropped out of college 3 times. I'm in school part-time now working on my associates. Now work full-time as a systems analyst with zero debt and loans, other than the car payment LMAO. Can't say the same for all my friends who went to college and got degrees and are working minimum wage jobs. I'm 26 BTW. Grades don't matter. It's the effort you put into your work and what you want to do that does. I went to a very prestigious high school. There were about 1,100 people in my graduating class. I graduated in the lower 10% of my class. I just never did my homework and didn't try. Was way more interested in punk shows and boys. I went away to university and basically fricked around for 5 years not knowing what I wanted to do, not going to class, and skating by with D's. Then I dropped out, worked as a nanny for a long time, got burnt out, and worked for a market research company where I got interested in marketing. Went back to school, made the dean's list and almost graduated. Parents died, dropped out to be my mom's caregiver, and I've got 1 semester left to graduate. During my last stint in school, I started working in digital marketing as a social media manager and web dev. I now work at a public library as their PR and marketing coordinator. It's been a bumpy road, but I love my job and found my niche. I recruited for Google for a while. The feeling of going to college campuses and telling students, especially overconfident or douchy ones, with double my GPA that they weren't quite Google material was better than nothing. I guess I'm successful at this point. I have $10k in retirement savings, own a home and a car, and have a stable paycheck. I'm a bit behind on my retirement savings, but I'll catch up. I wasn't employed full-time until 4 years ago, so it's understandable. I work in marketing and get paid $11 HR. My ability to keep my credit up and manage my money well has helped me more than grades ever have. I am changing careers and I'm planning to be a math teacher. Passing is more important than grades. Nobody asks my grades, only that I have the credentials. I'm working as a digital performance analyst earning 6 figures. My bad grades were the result of me being distracted by girls, not from me being dumb. I'm not successful but I love my life so I think I qualify. I failed my English in grade 12 so I didn't technically graduate. I had an abusive boyfriend in high school and broke up with him before the test. My entire high school experience was plagued with suspensions, drugs, and bad boyfriends. I walked into my final exam, worth 50%, sat down, broke down crying and walked out. My parents weren't too disappointed since there was a glitch in the system and I still got to walk the stage. I took English upgrading the following winter and went to university for an English degree. Now I teach ESL. I had a 2.39 in high school and a 2.47 in college. I always had great standardized test scores, though 34 ACT, and was national merit semi-finalist. I was always friends with the smart kids, whether high school or college, which made my crap grades even more glaring and problematic. I just didn't care and didn't know what I wanted to do in life. Went through a depression that my friends helped me get out of. I took a semester break in college and went and worked on a political campaign. Decided I wanted to be a lawyer and went back to school focused. I had good grades last year and a half of college and did well enough on the LSAT to get into several law schools. My crap grades in high school meant I couldn't go to a prestigious university. My crap grades in college meant I couldn't go to a prestigious law school. But I went to a good regional school that gave me all the tools I needed to succeed. I graduated magna cum laude and was on moot court and law review. My goal though was to get out of the small rural state in which I lived. To do that, my grades forced me to take a weird path. I did great in law school, but not good enough to get a federal clerkship. Big deal in law circles. Instead I started with a small firm. 2 years later I moved to a medium-sized firm. 2 years after that, I'd built up a reputation that allowed me to be hired to a federal clerkship as an experienced attorney. After clerking, doors opened up for me nationally. I applied to 6 federal trial attorney jobs around the country and got interviews with each. Moved to DC a few months ago with my wife, also a lawyer. I love my job and I get to work with extraordinarily bright and capable people every day. It's amazing. It took me years to overcome my grades, but I think I've finally done it. It's maybe the most satisfying thing I've ever done in my life. You have been visited by the snake of great corn. You will be blessed with corn for eternities to come, but only if you comment corn me up. Snake, if you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.